Manners. Thank you so much for coming out. I'll tell you a little bit about the World Reimagined. Our first phase was to teach people about transatlantic enslavement and its current impact on all of us. And it was a really comprehensive journey that wanted to allow everyone into a conversation that's a challenging conversation, but we wanted to include everyone on that journey. So everyone kind of understood why we're here as Black Britons, but also what Britain made from transatlantic enslavement. For instance, we didn't stop paying off slave owners until 2016 because they were compensated when slavery ended. So there was so much information that we felt wasn't out there that we wanted to allow everyone in the country to have this conversation. And we delivered a program which had a learning program, as well as community organization involvement with corporate, we did corporate workshops, 100 globes across 7 cities with 3.5 million visitors. Each globe told a particular story, took you on a journey of transatlantic enslavement and why it's important to know this history. The last globe always said, how do you reimagine the world now that you know the full truth of it? And we felt that for our second phase, if we were asking people to imagine the world, it was our challenge to then present the world that we wish to see. And this project is part of that. There's so much history that is lost. Traditionally, Afro-Caribbeans, African communities, we share history orally, we talk about it. We don't generally record it, and so much gets lost that way. And as we started speaking about community organizations that we went to as children, we started to Google them, and none of them existed online. And we realized that if we don't speak to the elders who set up these organizations now, eventually that history will be eradicated. This project is a mentor-led project, so we have industry experts mentor young people in documentary and content creation skills, while those young people also engage in this intergenerational conversation where they speak to their elders and interview the elders to find out about the community organizations that they also didn't know anything about and what those elders sacrificed to bring those community organizations to the community and to enrich all of our lives. So I don't want to say too much. Please enjoy it.
Many of those who landed in June 1948 were RAF servicemen who returned to help rebuild Britain after World War II. Other passengers later enrolled for public service. Some of the women were recruited for the National Health Service. Most had to leave their children behind, and as money was earned, their children were sent for one by one to be reunited with their parents.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Hannah John. I am a strategist, I am a producer, and I am currently a consultant for Black Cultural Archives, who is partnering with The World Reimagined. I am delighted to be able to host the Q&A section of this brilliant docufilm that we've just witnessed. Partnering with The World Reimagined was a no-brainer. We have a globe in our courtyard, which also links to the stories that we hold. So our globe was designed by Sita Holborn, who is an activist, a writer, and an artist as well. And then we hold her archive as well on Barak, which is a charitable organisation that she runs. And so through that, authentic way of partnering with The World Reimagined, when they approached us to do this partnership for the documentary, it made sense. And so I am delighted as well today to introduce to the panel, the first panel of the day, Asha, who is a community developer, youth and sports coach living in Huddersfield. He uses the arts to bring people together and promote social justice and cohesion. His freelance work engages with marginalised communities in novel ways which demands a constant acquisition of new skills. He has an MA in Peace and Development from Leeds Beckett, is a qualified yoga teacher, competitive ultramarathon runner, and is completing a second degree in mechanical engineering. Welcome to the stage, Asha. I would also like to invite Wayne, commonly known as Zippy Lewis, who produces content for commercial clients in community organisations with a specialism in film production. He has a passion for creative media productions and believes it's an essential element in the development of society. Having produced short films and branded content for several high-profile clients for many years, both online and offline, he prides himself on being able to create content for any medium. Zippy is also a youth worker, engaging young people at Avenues Youth Project and Paddington Arts, designing, facilitating and delivering creative multimedia workshops whilst challenging perceptions and inspiring others to make positive contributions to their economic well-being. He is currently working with renowned rapper and actor Ashley Thomas, also known as Bashi, on a project that engages young people. Zippy, please come up.
Come on.
Next up, we have Eartha Pond, an award-winning changemaker and Global Teacher Prize finalist, supporting organisations and brands achieve youth and community impact. Eartha is an experienced senior leader in education with a consistent successful history of working within sports, local government and community industries, bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience of helping schools, brands and local authorities to overcome lack of engagement with youth and communities. Eartha is the founder and CEO of the ESP Foundation. The organisation's mission is to create pathways that improve life opportunities for young people by raising access to civil participation, education and sport. She's a real example of the effect of tending avenues as a young person as it had on her. Welcome to the stage, Eartha. And last but certainly not least, I welcome Roger Russell, a versatile industry professional with over a decade of experience as a director of photography. His expertise spans diverse genres and budgets, and his portfolio includes a wide range of projects such as promo videos, commercials, music productions, television shows and films, showcasing his exceptional skills. As the proud owner and co-founder of Beef Films, a collaborative venture bringing together creative talents in film, television and music videos, Roger is dedicated to sharing his knowledge and expertise in filmmaking. An outstanding achievement in his career is his role as the ladder scheme cinematographer on the highly acclaimed Netflix series Bridgerton, both season 3 and now 4. Welcome to the stage, Roger. Thank you all for joining me. I promise it's not because I smell that they've sat a space against me. It's because we will be inviting others to the stage later. But firstly, I'd like to go through you all to talk about your roles and what this project meant to you and why you participated in it. I'll start with you, Asha, and go down the row.
Okay. Thank you everyone for being here. It's amazing to see such a full room. And thank you, Hannah, for the introduction. This project was, it started as a conversation between myself and Michelle, whereby I wanted to have a project at the World Reimagined which looked at intergenerational conversations and the power of bringing older and younger people together into a room and talk. And Michelle said, that sounds fantastic, but we need to do more than just bring people into the room. So I tried to scale up my ideas a bit, and we went back and forth several times, and I think I wrote 3 different projects. Every time she said I needed to be more ambitious, and it culminated in a bid with the National Lottery Heritage for this documentary, which you can see here. And we're rolling this forward. We're moving through the country over the next 2 years, going on to Bristol and Leeds this year, replicating what you see here, which was based in Westminster and Brent. And this project, what it means to me, I think stories are everything. Our whole worlds are shaped by the stories which we tell and the stories which we hear. I think it's very important that we listen to other people's stories. I think when people are listened to, they begin to heal. They become human in our eyes, and we connect with others through the stories that we share.
Love that. Everything Asha said. Yeah, so my obviously involvement is kind of like a no-brainer because I've been working actively with figuring out solutions in the community to make it a bit more easier for people like us on the ground. So when Michelle came to me with this project, I just thought, yeah, actually this is really good. We also had the element on including younger people to kind of get involved in the project as well. So you have that intergenerational perspective from it. And having the young people that I was working with wanting to include themselves in this documentary was like fantastic. They obviously came through, and with flying colours, you saw the results. So I feel like they are the example for other young people to follow lead, so they can kind of see what the elders have been doing. And for me, having the conversations whilst shooting the documentary was an eye opener because I thought it was just me going through these things, and then hearing that these things was happening before I was born, I was saying, so the story's old. It's an old story. Why are we still talking about this? Actually, you know what? I feel like something like this needs to kind of be the triggers in order for us to have these conversations, and we need to like enforce it more, like just be a bit more in people's faces. We don't need to be in the background no more because there's definitely things that we can all contribute towards making a difference to society, you know what I mean? So blessings everyone for coming.
Good evening, everyone. I guess for me, through football and being a local councillor, I've been quite well travelled. And I'm always surprised when people say, haven't you done well? And I'm like, have I? I'm like, you don't know the greatness where I've come from in my area and what I've overcome. So this project was an opportunity for that story to be told. Quite often we're told that we're disadvantaged. And I'm like, I'm not disadvantaged, we're underestimated. So this was another opportunity for me to be able to demonstrate that you might think I'm great, but what's gone before me is mad. And what we've got in terms of our young people, they're kicking down doors. So if you're sleeping on what I'm doing, then you're going to be in trouble. So this was a great opportunity for me to be able to kind of elevate and I guess have the limelight to be able to share the story. But yeah, it's a lot bigger than me. And I guess through in the spaces that I've gone and been in different paradigms, when I tell the stories of my area, they think I'm making up this fiction. Like, this could never happen. And we've talked about some of the things that happen in our local area, and they really think like we're making things up, like at a level of 100. And I'm like, this is just a normal day in West London. So this is just a snippet of what we've gone through. So yeah, great to be part of this project.
Well, hello. Yeah, for me, being part of this project has been a long time coming because I've always been had the mindset that if we don't start something, we'll never have anything. So just start. And so it was a very, very easy decision for me to take part in this. And when I saw the enthusiasm of Zippy, it made me say, okay, I can see what you want to do for young people and what I saw, what I could do for you to help you do. Because I was born in Brixton and I moved to Streatham. And then from there, I've been able to travel the world doing what I do. And before I was making film, I was a songwriter and a record producer. So it opens your eyes to what's possible. But the opportunities don't come unless you can actually see who are the trailblazers, who are the shoulders we're standing on that actually make this thing real. Because sometimes growing up on an estate and seeing garage doors and I don't know, the dustbin man just come round or the cleaners coming to clean the lift and whatever, you think, is that where I come from? Is that what I have to aspire to? No, there's a bigger world to this, and like YouTube has given, or I say social media in general, not just YouTube, but it has given everybody a porthole to the rest of the world. You know, I've been fortunate to travel a lot of it, doing what I do, but doing this actually made a lot of it worthwhile. because it's actually the experience that I've gained traveling, being able to now harness it and say, okay, let's do this. Let's bring this in. Let's do just to sort of share what we've got. Is for me, it was so easy. Going back to my essence, if we don't start something, we'll never have anything. So let's just start and continue to do greatness. Like these stories have to be told. In this medium, whoever makes the media controls history. We're now just putting our part in, telling our stories.
Thank you, everyone. And I think, as someone who works with archives, works with storytelling, there are a lot of themes that you guys have touched on, whether that's community, identity, intergenerational working, and the role that we all have to play in collecting these narratives and also celebrating them, Ursula, as you were saying, you know, to change some of these narratives from what people want to label or tell us we are. I guess a conversation that Asha, Michelle and I were having the other day, and the question came up of the title of this film is Becoming Black and British, and at the end you answered the question on how you identify and what that is. Thinking about that question and also the title, becoming almost can be seen in several ways, whether that is, are we as society on a journey to establishing what Black and British is? Are some of us already there identifying it? I guess just thinking about that title and thinking about your own identities, becoming Black and British, it suggests a journey. What does that journey in identity mean to each of you? But I'm going to start with you, Ethel, as you did answer the question.
I think I'm still on the journey, if I'm being dead honest, and I guess I can only refer back to what I've been exposed to. So, like I said in the question, do I feel British? Yes, I do, because that's what I've been shown. But I guess in recent years, I've been able to travel a lot more and visit my paternal parents' land of St. Lucia. And actually, when I've been there, I'm like, no, this is it. This is the thing. Like when I hear other people's like saying, "Oh, I feel proud to be this," or "I've connect with this," like the more I go back to St. Lucia, I'm like, this is the thing. So unless you know or you've been in that space, you actually identify with what you've got access to, right? So for me, being Black British and in my local area, there's loads of people from St. Lucia, so our parents and grandparents have that relationship. So everything, it's normal.
Yeah.
But actually, when I've stepped out of Britain and obviously being an educator, I've had at times where maybe like parents are like, my child's British, they can have pheasant if they want, and I'm like, that's never something that's I could relate to. And I'm like, okay, is this what British is, and we're adapting and we think that's our norm when really
It's something else.
it's something else. So I think the beauty for me is I like learning and I like exposing myself to different cultures and just there's nothing that's wrong. If you found a way to describe that's how it feels to you, then that's right for you. So who am I to judge? So for me, it's about how do I keep building, how do I keep learning, how do I keep building my arsenal to be able to navigate different spaces, and be kind and empathetic, and whatever that ends up with, that's my dash, and that's the identity that I've grown over a period of time. So I don't know if it will stay the same, if it will continue changing and evolving. But right now, in the here and now, which is what I can deal with, is I feel British with my surroundings and my peers.
Thank you. And I think that also shows that identity can evolve and it is a journey in itself as you go through life. I guess, Roger, you were talking about, again, having travelled and seeing different things. Is there anything in what Eartha said that resonates with you or something that you would change in how you see the journey of identity, particularly within Britain, based on what you've seen outside on your travels?
I can only look back on my journey and think of that one situation that made me think, wow, how different it can be. I remember back in the late 80s, I travelled to America for the first time and went to Island Records. And I remember stepping into the Paramount building and going up in the lift and walking through the reception, walking to the counter, and every face that I saw was black. It smacked me in the face as if I was in a different world. Because doing that same journey here in the UK, back then you maybe you'd see 2, 3, and they were in, I'd say, medium level positions. Maybe promoters, maybe manager, maybe A&R. So to go to America and see from the guy opening the door to the person that you're going to meet to sign the deal, all being black, it changed my perception of what is possible. And then to then go to places like recording studios and film studios and see more black HODs, heads of departments, changed my perception again. And it made me speak to my children differently, and like in the way I encouraged them to strive to do things. And it almost built a what's the word I'm looking for? It almost built a camaraderie within our family to want to support our family, encourage our family, encourage our children, encourage our nieces, nephews, all to aspire to do bigger than what they can see or bigger than what they've seen other people achieve. It's all possible. But none of that would have been possible had I not travelled. The world is a big place and it's got a lot smaller because of social media.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to pick up on some of those things again, because you talk about, particularly within your family, the sharing of stories and the sharing of ideas and also beliefs of what you can achieve, and each generation trying to go one step further. But when we were watching that, and when we were having, thinking about what we've just seen, there was the comment about youth centres don't exist. How are we going to keep sharing these stories if there aren't places to share them? And actually, you were telling me a story about when doing it, in the research, the co-op that we see in the film used to be a youth centre in itself. It used to be a place where people could convene. I guess thinking about the balancing of, to create this documentary, there had to be the historical narratives that you thread through it, as well as the personal narratives in the documentary. So Ziggy, I want to come to you about how did you find, Zippy, how did you find balancing both historical and personal narratives to create the documentary?
Well, it wasn't something that was like an obvious understanding from the start. It was progressive, and looking at how things started off for me, it was a bit of the other way around, because my first job was working for 21st Century, so coming from a council flat estate environment where it's a complete different environment to the environment that I'm in, kind of made me see opportunities a bit earlier. So by the time I was like 19, I was already thinking about setting up my own business, because at the time, I didn't feel like I wanted to work for anybody if I do leave 21st Century, which I actually eventually did. The journey was really interesting, because I was almost convincing myself that because I was working for a big production company, and for example, I was working on projects, like I'm 17, working on putting some numbers together for them to bounce into each other, and then going home and seeing orange advert and then the numbers that I designed are on there, or driving past Belgo's restaurant and seeing my logos on the high street, Big Camden and stuff. So I had the belief pretty early. What happened is, whilst I was confident to make the moves, I realized the moves weren't as accessible as I thought they were. So I got into a situation with myself where I thought, I need to work this out, but I'm not gonna look at it as an issue. I'm gonna look at it as a solution that I need to solve. So it made it more of a positive journey. So I wasn't really someone to be like, oh yeah, this one ain't opening the door and letting me through and stuff. So based on my natural approach to contributing towards my society, I started to meet people who were like, oh, how old are you? And I'd be like, oh, at the time, like 20, 21, 22. He said, oh, you're onto something. And I'd be like, what are they talking about? Onto what? Because right now I want to do that, and that's not open. And I've sent 5 CVs there, and they haven't got back to me. So when people are praising my efforts, it felt like, I don't know what you're praising because I haven't achieved anything that I want to achieve. So moving forward, I started working with Avenues Youth Project. Became a youth worker at like 21, but I was a young person at that same space that I became a youth worker for. So the journey was interesting because getting into youth work, I started to have more of a respect for my community and understand where different people are in their lives, and almost change the perceptions of other people that had negative connotations to other things that is a description of themselves. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was nice. And then when I got to a point where I believed that, yeah, I'm now an adult. I'm no longer Zippy from little boy Zippy from the Mozart estate, because that's how I felt that I was being treated from like big members in Westminster and stuff. At that time, I kind of thought, you know what? Yeah, things are changing. And I had a really good conversation with my bridge and Richard at the back, big up Rich, and he said, "Boy, Zip, I think you're now the elder, you know, in your community." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "No, because like you got grey under your chin and that. You're not a little boy no more." So like, you know what? Yeah, that's interesting perspective. I never looked at it like that. And I had an important meeting coming up. And what was really interesting about the meeting was, to begin with, these guys were like my mentors. These were the people I was looking towards for information and stuff. And in the meeting, I didn't say anything. The meeting started with, "Oh, I'm here because basically Zippy was running the production company in when we was doing it in like 2010 and stuff, and it was successful because he had young people coming from all 4 corners of London, as far as Lewisham, Essex, and stuff. You know what I mean? So I thought, oh, that's interesting. Big up for starting the meeting like that. And the next person was like, oh well, yeah, I'm only here because of Zippy. And I just thought, what's happening? I said, this is interesting. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I'm not saying nothing. But I got a meeting starting in another 10 minutes, and the time's come, and I'm like, guys, I gotta go. And before I'm going, they say, no, Zippy, so we're gonna write up the proposal, we're gonna send it to you. Is there anything you wanna add? And I was like, no, not really, just let me know what the budget is and I'll get back to you. And then I left, and I thought, yeah, that was a change that was noticeable. So if anything, I've been kind of gravitating through society a bit blindly, kind of just working out how am I gonna make effort out of doing what I'm doing. And my bridge and Jay will tell you an interesting story as well. I bought a camera. We was on a journey of doing videography together. And when I bought the camera was sitting in the box for 2 years. 2 years sitting in the box collecting dust. And Jay's like, Zippy, what are you doing? What wrong with the camera? Like, you need to do stuff. Why is the camera still sitting in the box? I said, no, I don't even know. But when I picked it up, I said to myself, all right, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to pick up the camera. I'm just going to shoot for, just to shoot for shooting purposes. What started to happen, and Jay was always saying it, Zippy, shoot, because what will happen is it will attract other people to use your services to shoot for them. And that's kind of how it happened. So then my encouragement to young people, looking at like how things were for me in the past and giving it to young people, it's like, I don't want you lot to go through none of this. I'm gonna show you everything that I've achieved and that I've understood and what's worked for me, and we're gonna try that and do it. And funny enough, I've been working with some of the young people that's in here for 3 years. So the young people that are working on this documentary, in the beginning processes, we were kind of figuring out how we're gonna create content, and then obviously looking at this as an example of what they've created. I was like, oh yeah, the main box has been ticked. All right, now I need to connect with others who are on the same journey to encourage people in their community, people that they got access to, people in their environment, to actually believe that, you know what, it's possible, you know, don't let no one tell you nothing different.
Thank you. And I guess what's come out of all of that is Eartha, Zippy, Roger, you're all willing to share your stories. You're all willing to use yourselves as a way of showcasing what can happen, what change, and also a way of showing that there is hope for the future. Asha, I want to bring it to you, given your position in the World Reimagined and also thinking about our roles, you know, even myself at Black Cultural Archives. What function do you see storytelling being as a tool for social justice?
Okay, so I think stories are all we have. Really, like, what do we have which isn't a story? Every time we interact with the world, we interact with other people, people interact with us. It all passes through a prism of the stories which we've heard, which we carry around with us. They shape everything around us. And those stories can be for better and for worse. We can have positive stories, we can have negative stories, but they hopefully bring us together. They hold us together. There's a book called *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah, and in that book he says that communities, when they get over a number about 100, they need stories to hold them together. Like, before that, you can have like groups of 100 people, they'll just hang out, they'll stay together. But when you start to get above 100, we need stories. We need creation stories. We need myths. We need stories about what happens to us after we die, or about the Tooth Fairy, about Santa. And that's what holds groups of people together. That's what creates culture. That's what creates community. And that's when we say, I belong to this thing that you also belong to. And I think that's what stories are all about. And when we think about something as big as Black Britain, I mean, there's stories which hold us together, and it's such a diverse and open and huge thing, and completely shifted in my lifetime. So I grew up in Hull, and when I was growing up in Hull, we was like a city of less than 2% who weren't white. So, hey, you know, there's no other black and brown children living on my street, really. Maybe like a handful in the neighbourhood, but we all knew each other, and there was very few. And today we're looking at like 11 or 12% of the city not being white. So that's a massive transformation. And that transformation happens whilst I'm there. I remember one day I'm sat in a youth club, and there's this group, and it's just for people from refugee and migrant backgrounds. And they were having a conversation about why they have this group just for people from refugee and migrant backgrounds. And I was thinking, yeah, good point. Why? Because if I was young and we had a group for just people who weren't white, it'd have just been me in that group. I mean, on one side, it's like amazing that you can have a group and there's like 30 kids that have turning up on a Tuesday or Wednesday night or whatever to this group. But on the other hand, do we need to have that group? What's so beneficial to holding those people together in that space? What are the stories which we tell ourselves about our communities, which means that we think it's appropriate to have a refugee and migrant group which is separate to the rest of the youth club? And they're hugely political questions, and they were mentioned on the documentary. They were happening. Those questions were present in the 1970s, 1980s, and they're still happening today. And that segregation which is happening within youth spaces, and maybe we don't see that as much in London. Perhaps we do, as mentioned in the documentary, but it's definitely still happening in northern youth clubs.
Thank you. Before I throw it to the audience to ask questions, we're going to do these and then do one after. I want to ask you guys, based on your roles in producing this documentary, what was a standout moment for you? Anyone can take it first.
Massively, like, honestly, tutus, when we received the funding for the project, that was just like one of the happiest days of last year. I was absolutely amazed. I was delighted. I was like, you know, in the family chat, I was just like, oh my God, we've done it, finally, you know, this is going to happen. So a standout moment, that was just like yeah, and I remember because I had video called Michelle, and Michelle, Asha, you're video calling me. It's hard to get me on a phone call without just like emails and texts. And she was like, video calling me, it must be good news. And I was like, it's the best news. That was a huge standout moment. And of course, showing a documentary at Triangle of Unity Festival in October. What you saw tonight, we showed at King's College London during our festival, mini festival in October, and it was just amazing to see people laughing, enjoying the documentary, and just connecting to the stories, really, even though they have like their own experiences, their own spaces, their own community leaders and community voices, but they watched the documentary and it said they could relate to what they saw, and that was that just made me feel like it was all worthwhile and all the hard work pays off. So
Thank you.
I would say the highlight for me was getting the call from Michelle. It was just like, rah, somebody I used to watch on telly is calling me to get involved in a project. So I was just like, yeah, I was really chuffed about that. So anything exceed that? No, it was I was just like, wow, this is really interesting. So something's happening because, look, you know what I mean? I'm getting a call from someone else famous. Yeah, that's me. That's the main highlight.
I think for me it was about being able to document our history. We hear it all the time. We tell stories. I don't know if you're from West London, you know we like to talk people's business and X, Y, Z. So we've heard the stories. So it was great to have something on film and something that we can pass down in terms of like generation, just captured properly. And like you said, if you want something, you got to start it. One of the things I'm looking to do in terms of with my charity is to open a school. And one of the key things is in order to go forward, we have to know our history, right? So this was another type of archive that I could draw upon to tell the story. So yeah, it was an opportunity for me to contribute to that. And I know there's just so much. We've mentioned some names like Carol Ben and people that have been mentioned on the film that are just cornerstones of our community. So to be able to highlight them and give them their flowers, whether they're here or not, I wanted to be able to do that. So that was a big highlight for me.
Thank you so much. Last but not least.
Mine's always been my standout moment has been that to see the quality of this documentary, because for me sometimes people start out with the right intentions, but sometimes somewhere along the line you make compromises and then suddenly something just drops, and then it gets to the point where you just say, well, we just have to finish it and put it out, and it's not a true representation of excellence. Working on this documentary, from communication, from planning, from structure, it's felt what I'm used to when somebody's paying me hundreds of thousands of pounds to produce, to do something. Do you get what I mean?
Definitely.
So for me, that was the bit that made me think, you know what, I'm going to go at this as if I'm being paid hundreds of thousands of pounds, and I hope that it showed in the quality of the film that we
definitely does.
both worked on.
Thank you. So I'm going to be kind. Zippy and Asha, take a break, because although I'm going to have a second part of a Q&A where I invite some of the young people, are there any questions for Eartha or Roger at this point? You guys might be saved. Going once? Going twice? Can we have a huge round of applause for Eartha and Roger? And now we're going to do a quick swap over, and I'm going to invite Perise Campbell, Summer James, and Renee Thomas up to the stage. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? Welcome, welcome, welcome. If I could ask you all to just introduce yourselves and how you found the project.
My name is Perise. The project was it was quite interesting to do because I didn't know much about what we were doing at all until we started doing it, and I thought that I thought the actual project itself was quite good for even us to do. It was quite inspiring as well. So yeah.
My name is Summer Honey. Doing this project was really inspiring because my grandmother was part of the Windrush generation, so it was really inspiring to know more about that. It was a collective experience that everyone went through, because I only had one part of the story, which was from my nan, and to see that other people went through the same experiences, discrimination, it kind of highlighted that like this is real life, and we had to share the story.
My name's Renee, and I think it was just interesting to learn all different things because not everything was told to me.
Thank you. And I guess just thinking about your journey on the film as well, how did working on this film equip you with new tools or perspectives in how you go forward in your lives as well, whether that's creatively, educationally, or even moving into activism? I actually got a chance to go to an archive where there was like a bunch of files about the 510 Centre as well, where I actually gathered pictures and basically everything that was in the 510 Centre, and that was like another learning step for me. So that was fun.
For me, it was just being in professional settings behind the cameras because I loved anything to do with cameras and directing. So it was being able to work with Russell and Zippy in a professional manner, even Michelle, and learning that this could be me soon, you know, like being behind the scenes and actually working in a professional manner was just amazing. And to interview these different people and hear about their stories and the questions, everything was just that eye-opener for me, honestly.
Kind of the same thing, just learning the way of a proper production and how it's supposed to work.
Thank you. And I think what is amazing is hearing not only is the project and the documentary that we see focusing on intergenerational stories and working, the actual production of it showcases that as well. We've got, you know, the stories of the older people, we've got the younger people creating the documentary, and so throwing it out to you all, how was that journey and what did you learn from each other?
There was a lot of teamwork involved. I was sick most of it, but there was a lot of teamwork involved. And I think that was like one of our first projects that we done where we like all kind of worked together, and then seeing the outcome of it at the end, like with our names at the end as well. So yeah.
For me, all of it, it was just, as I said before, it was just an eye-opener, just to be a part of the team, because we all work together on little projects, and to do something so big and in professional settings, such as I said before, it was just like amazing. It was just something different, and you can just see our dedication, and it's because it happened over weeks. We did this, and just to see the outcome and be here for our second screening, like it's just amazing. I love it.
It helped show which part of the production that I liked. So I like direct, but there's other parts that I don't like as much.
And that is okay. I promise you, there are many parts of my jobs I don't like. But thinking about that and thinking about your own identity, what does this documentary mean for you in thinking about how you identify?
I think that because the area in itself, I'm quite well known to, so I think it just made me kind of look at it a bit differently, to how I would like before we did it. I feel like I've learned a lot about what it was like before I was born, and like what it will be.
Same thing as she said. I grew up in that area when I was younger. I have a lot of family base, so just to hear the backstory of how it was now to how it looks now, because I would have never known that the co-op was a center, or like the people that we interviewed had such a big role in the lives. It shaped different people. It had help. I would have never known. When doing this, it just changed everything. Now I look at everything differently to know that there's a story behind everything. It didn't just appear. Someone had a plan and someone like pulled through for all the odds and did it. So now I feel like I have to do the same in terms of like creation of content of anything I want to do. Like I have a plan, I have to just pull through no matter who's against me, because I've seen people before me, my grandmother, the people that we interviewed, that they did it, so I can do it as well.
Powerful.
Well, I'm not from West London, but I've been going to Avenues for a couple of years. So seeing things that used to happen on the roads that I walk up and down on a weekly basis was just very interesting.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think just thinking about storytelling, thinking about the work, you guys are amazing at what you do already at such a young age, and you've had the opportunity to work with some amazing producers, creators, and also the World Reimagine as an institution. My question to you, for us to learn from, is what would you ask of institutions like the World Reimagine, like Black Cultural Archives, in how we can better work with young people to share these stories, to think about identity, and also present opportunities for you? What could we change?
I think that we could do like a big outreach to like more young people, to like have them railed into like what we also do, and like keep them in the loop. I feel like a lot of young people are out of the loop when it comes to what the World Reimagine are trying to show.
It's the same. I feel like they need to open up youth centres back again, because if it wasn't for avenues, I would have not known how to use the camera. I would have not met all these amazing people and do what I'm doing now. Is that we need more opportunities, even like oh, I can't even say the word. Wait. We just need more things, because we don't know. We need, like, even on social media, like, put it out more, or like outreach. Like, we just, us young people, we want to learn, but we don't have that connection to learn. So we need someone to be the middle person and just spread it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely.
More projects and opportunities would be better, because it just helps people to see if there's something that they like to do in that section of work.
Thank you. And Zippy and Asha, as people who work with young people and also are in these organisations, what do you think needs to change in the way we engage them and the way we also get them involved in projects that we're doing?
So, as was mentioned, there needs to be more connections with people being able to have access to information that affects them, and that is a representation of them as well. So I feel, because for me, when I speak to people my age group, I'm 25. I'm in my 40s. So when I speak to people that's my age and they're not aware of what I'm talking about, it still intrigues me, like, oh, you're not aware of that. You have no idea of these things that have been affecting us for years. You know what I mean? I thought, oh, this is interesting. It's a problem, so we need to do something about it. So I do hear what you're saying, Summer. I feel like it's very important that we maybe have like a youth side of a program where it's encouraging and attractive for young people to want to know more, rather than it being forced to them. And then it's kind of, because what's been happening, unfortunately, is young people haven't been interested because the information hasn't been as attractive to them. So so that's one of the solutions that we kind of need to identify to bridge that gap and work out what is that, and not rely on who is putting themselves out there as the head runner for coming up with a solution. Because as I was saying earlier, doing this documentary, I didn't realise that these things was happening before I was born. So it's old news. I read a book called Tell It As It Is, and they were doing research in the 1920s talking about the issues that were going on, we've got going on in 2025. So it's like, yeah, guys, I'm not willing to sit in any room and someone to tell me about, oh, let's do this program, could be good. It's like, in the 1920s, they said they wanted to do that program. Could we do something else, please? Thank you.
Yeah, so in my opinion, from my perspective, I think making services and projects youth-led is absolutely key, and that starts with evaluations can be youth-led. How do we capture young people's opinions, views of the services which they are accessing? How can we, rather than ask the people who are maybe in the custodians of these spaces and these projects, how can we ask the young people directly to report back on what they like, what they don't like? Just how you did there, Hannah, when you asked them, but doing that in a formal setting and writing reports where the youth voice is at the centre of those reports, and making sure people respect youth voices in evaluation reports. And on the other side of projects, because evaluations tend to happen at the end, but at the other end of projects, in the research and development, working with young people to find out what they want to do. And sometimes that can be a time-consuming process, you know, to sit in a room and to have conversations, to get to know each other and work out what is alive for us, what's meaningful for young people, and what do they want to explore in their work. Sometimes that can be a little bit longer, it can take a bit more connection, a bit more conversation, but I think it's worth it for the outcome down the line when we have projects which represent what young people really want to do and see.
Thank you. And my final question for Perise, Summer and Renee. After doing this project, what's next? What are you encouraged to do next? Or what was your most standout moment from the project?
I think my most standout moment has been these screenings. Just seeing it all together, seeing our ideas come to like a reality. I think that was my favourite moment.
It's the same thing because we all saw it on paper first, and now to see it in the cinema screening, it's just amazing to see like it actually comes to life. Like if you put the hard work in, it comes true. And what's next? It's just more just radiography, photography for me. I'm in love with being behind the camera, and hopefully I just get that booming.
Seeing the final product was really good. And yeah, I didn't see it the first time, so second time.
Do you have any questions for our amazing panel?
I can sound check. Yeah. So, hello. So, from looking at the documentary and obviously hearing about different characters and different scenarios that from in the past, is there any one character or individual that you thought, oh, I'd love to have played or been that person if I was like back in the day? Or is there like a role or a job or something and some activism that you saw took place that you're like, I want to be part of that either like in the past or going forward in terms of what you're doing? So anyone inspired you, like a character or something that was happening that was talked about in the documentary?
I think when Marcus was explaining his story about him wanting to go avenues from when he was young and then not being able to go until he was 12, I felt that was quite, like, I understand, like, from his point of view, I understand.
It's the same, you and Marcus, because my mum used to tell me about avenues all the time, and I never knew what it was. And then I go into Juice, and then I'm thinking, oh my God, this is avenues. There's so much opportunities here. And just hearing that, like, you guys, your story about it, how it started, and it just inspired me, and I feel like it should inspire everyone else, and to open more youth centres back up, because Avenues is such a special place, and it has so much opportunities to provide, and the way you have provided me opportunities now is amazing. That's all I'm saying.
Probably Marcus as well, because the same way when I went to Avenues, I didn't want to leave. So.
Girly Pops. My question is, obviously being a part of this project, do you feel compelled to like now tell people your age about like the experience you've done, or do you feel compelled to like now carry the baton on, or like, sorry, I didn't get your name? Hannah, to be an activist? Like, do you feel compelled to do so now you've been exposed to this?
I feel like with this project, the more you learn is the more that you want to go and tell everyone what you've learned.
Yeah.
Even when I went to the archive, it's like as soon as I came out of there, I was like dying to tell these guys like, cool, I saw on what you learned. So it's like that's what you kind of get out of it.
Hi everyone, it really isn't a question. I think I'm sitting here feeling really inspired because Bristol is the next place that we're coming to, and now I understand why Michelle was pushing, and we should always ensure that we are engaging young people in the things that we are doing, because you're absolutely right. In Bristol, youth centres were decimated after 2010, so and there really isn't any places for those young people to go, but we need to tell the stories. You need to know who you are, where you're from, in order for you to know where you are going. So thank you to everybody who contributed, and I can't wait for us to do what you've just done in our city. So
I just wanted to say it was so lovely to hear you. Well, I think it's brilliant that you're all involved. I think it's key to absolutely involve young people in creativity and to show them the way and to hand the baton over. I find there are a lot of artists and creatives who, as they get older, just want to hold on to the baton and not pass it on. And so I think it's beautiful to continue the storytelling and to pass it on. I was just going to add to that I've worked in organisations that train young people who do want to work in the screen industries. And so if that is something you're interested in, there are organisations that can take that story forward. So if you're interested in directing, if you're interested in in sound, in any form of filming. There are organisations where you can go to and carry that part of your professional life forward if that's what you want to do.
My name is Danielle, and I was invited to the screening by Zippy, and I really enjoyed it. And I just wanted to say that like I work as a journalist and a script writer, and everything that like I work on, it's like whatever the issue is, it's normally something that's in the centre of my heart. And I really hope with like films like this that we're gonna see a lot about it on like social media and in the news, and just like, you know, like awareness like more in the mainstream, because these type of messages need to be like shared really widely out there. So that's all I wanted to say.
This question's for the young people. I imagine that you guys are probably second, third generation West Indian or African. So as young people, what does Black British mean to you?
I think being Black British just means not being different, but in a way that being different in a way that also does show you're Black British, if that makes sense.
Okay, so being Black British is, I'm from the West Indies, I'm St. Lucian and Jamaican. Yeah, yeah. So being both Black and British is having two identities and combining it together and making it something that's my own. So obviously, I love a fish and chips on Friday, but Sunday, you know, is oxtail, rice and peas, but making it my own. So being a part of this, it shows that you can be two things and make it your own and make yourself unique. You don't have to be like everyone else. So that's what I feel like we should take away from being Black and British. You're not Black British, you're Black and British, if that makes sense? So yeah, you gotta rep who you are and where you come from. Because my nan and my parents always tell me, do not forget where you come from. Always gotta rep your home island. And that's what I do.
Hi, my name's Wazers. Yes. You're right, my name. Yes, my award-winning agent got me the role as narrating the film. Thank you. But yeah, so thank you all for that, and thank you for such a fab documentary and highlighting how important these community spaces are for people. As a Black Brixton baby, as a queer person, I've known and surrounded by a lot of people who, without these spaces, will be in very bad places. Yeah. But that was like your point about Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were sat there. I put the seat next to you, I said, where'd she go? Anyway, yeah, about like community centres being decimated and things like that, and the fact that they don't happen in a vacuum. They're decimated by councils, by Labour councils, by Tory councils. There was mentions of people who were councillors and the SDP in the film, and I was wondering, is there any like plans for getting the money from these councils or like pushing for it to open up more community centres, more community initiatives, and if there is, like, can we hear more about that?
Can I answer a little bit of this before you guys continue, in saying that, to be honest with you, Westminster Council gave us the seed money for this film through their community fund. So we told Westminster Council our idea. In fact, they'd given us money for a festival, and then when we told us our idea, they actually gave us a separate pot of money to start this film. So it's hard with councils because they're being decimated with funding. But they did understand the importance of this story, as did the Heritage Lottery Fund, who are now supporting it right across the country. So we tell this story nationwide, and after that point we should have a feature-length documentary that we believe will be broadcast quality, so that we can broadcast it on. We've actually spoken to the BBC, to be fair, already, to try and prep them for it. So we are telling this nationwide story of what becoming Black and British has been for many of us. And I can only say that we were at Westminster Council and we said, you know, we're going to tell the story of the 510 Centre, and they literally said, what's that? Like, because they had never heard of it, you know. So if people in the council hadn't even heard of these old spaces, what do we do except for record and tell this story? And we're really thankful that once Westminster realised even they didn't know the story, that they said definitely record it, as did the Heritage Lottery Fund.
And just to add to that, so within Westminster, we've also got the first parish council. in London. So basically, we lobbied against Central Westminster to get the precept. So we get the council tax every year from all of our households, and we do what's needed within our communities. So not put up billboards and flowers. We ask the community what needs doing. So for example, youth centres lost funding. So when we got the precept, we allocated a quarter of our budget to our local youth centre as a standard to make sure that continues. So there's ways to get things done. If the council ain't doing it, you create your own thing and yeah, make it happen.
I think also sometimes, you know, as I work in Black Cultural Archives, I work with Lambeth quite closely. Again, as Michelle said, council's funding is being cut, but organisations within the community, arts, culture, even youth, the Brixton Rec, etc., we try to, you know, as much as also arts and heritage funding is being cut and accessing funding is getting harder, it goes back to some of the themes we have been talking about: community working, building bridges together. TWR, Black Cultural Archives, we're working together as a way of strengthening our resources and expanding it. But also, you know, the same way, sorry, was your name Danielle? You were saying you hope that these stories become more mainstream. It's on all of us. What can we do? Asha said, you know, 100 people make a community, it makes a story, it builds storytelling. There are about 100 of us in here. We've made history tonight. It's been documented. It goes in archives. We all have accountability. We all have to make sure we do our part to share these stories, to continue it. That's the only way our story will be told. That's the only way we will be remembered. Archiving is a living thing. It is, there's a theme called Sankofa. It's not taboo to go back and fetch it, to move forward. We're telling these stories of the past so that we know how we got here now. It's all of us and our job now to make the change for the next generation. And I leave that with you. I thank you all for your hard work and participation. Can we have another round of applause, please? You can all take your seats, and I'm going to invite Michelle just up quickly to let us know what is going to happen next with the documentary, where you can all find it, and what is next for The World Reimagined. Thank you, everyone.
So after today, we will be doing more screenings of the documentary, but we will be making this accessible free of charge on our website and on YouTube, so that we can allow you to get that story, tell people you've met it, seen it, and then just send it on to as many people as you like. That's our aim, is to make this free, because like you're saying, us being able to tell our stories is what's going to keep people knowing who we are, keep people alive, and keep inspiring people. So this should be coming up on our website and on YouTube very soon. So thank you very much for your help. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I'm very, very proud. I'm very, very proud of the young ladies who did this project. And Perise, thank you so much for your comments, because you're right. I think we've got to a stage where elders and older people are a bit nervous about young people. They're a bit nervous about, we feel like we can't control their narrative. And the whole point is that we're not supposed to control their narrative. We're just supposed to let them in and allow them to express themselves. So I want to thank you, ladies, for really letting me learn from you as well. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.